Welcome in to the Christmas episode of Nerds Ruin Sports, also Season 2, Episode 9, for those who keeping track. We are excited to be with you here today to discuss a very important weekend in college football, as well as kind of an important weekend in, the NFL in general. So we're happy to be here, but Anders, how are you doing today? As always, I am joined by the great and wonderful Anders. You like my play on Wizard of Oz there? I don't know if you guys have seen the new Wicked movie.
I haven't seen it.
I think it's good. But I thought because I watched that, I think going the great and wonderful Anders would be Anders Pryor here next to me. Anders, how are we doing?
I'm good. I'm doing good. I got a haircut yesterday, so I'm all nice and polished for the holiday season.
I'm getting a haircut tomorrow.
I was gonna say, are you freshly showered? Like you could kind of have like the comb over thing going on.
I'm not. I promise you, I am actually not today. I have kind of been up and going all day today already, so I just haven't had time I've actually had time. So I'm gonna go. I was literally gonna go like right before the show. I was gonna take a shower, but I did not have time because Anders kind of surprised me with
we were gonna do something later today. I kind of made a little quick schedule change. But you need a haircut, that's for sure.
I do. Yeah. Tomorrow at noon, I will be getting a haircut, and so we're in good shape.
No, I
need a shave, and that's another thing. I need a shave.
I feel like I'm at a good spot facial wise.
Yeah, you're solid.
I've been doing Christmas shopping for myself and for others. A lot of the cities, like they're doing like those like little like Christmas villages. So I haven't been to the Bryant Park one yet. That's like the big one that everyone loves. But I've walked around the Columbus Circle one a couple of times. I haven't actually gotten anything yet. I've just been like kind of doing some like pre-draft scouting, but now I'm actually going to be sort of making some picks. So
that's great.
That's good, right? That was good. I just thought of that.
But Columbus Circles. I love Columbus Circle, by the way.
It's usually a lot of those kind of like commercially parts of the city I'm not as like into, but it's really nice. It's a nice little area. It's like right by the park, and the shops are actually good. The building, it's nice. It's cozy. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I also am not a big fan of the touristy parts of the city, but Columbus Circle is always a good area, and I think that's a really cool place to be around. And yes, that is true, guys. I do know New York City geography.
Mm-hmm.
I am not immune to the New York City geography.
You know here better than I know Mesa for sure.
That's fair. That's a fair point. That is fair. Well, to be honest, the entire like East Valley of Phoenix is really easy to learn because it's just a square. The entire East Valley of Phoenix is just a square, really.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally the same streets. So as long as you like memorize the main cross streets, it's the most easiest thing in the world to learn because they never change the names throughout the thing. So it's just like from here to the farthest corner of East Valley, it's like the same streets. So it's pretty easy to figure out.
Got it.
But with that being said, we're going to do so here's how the show's going to work today. So usually we do fantasy football, college football, and then NFL. Today we are changing it up. We are going to do a quicker fantasy episode because, to be honest, Anders is probably not in the happiest mood to talk about his fantasy team at this point.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about fantasy quicker. And then we're going to do a quick 3-part NFL section. It's not going to take too long. And then the main focus of this show is going to be college football predictions. We have created a very nice presentation to show our predictions for this. And we've got some crazy picks. I wouldn't say I have some crazy picks. I would say the person next to
by we, he means me. And it's not even picks plural. It's just kind of one.
No, it's picks. It's picks.
Picks plural? Okay.
It's picks plural.
Right. being more disruptive.
In my opinion, it's picks plural. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more upsets on his than there are on mine, basically.
Right.
In my opinion. So with that being said, let me make sure I kind of forgot to. I kind of was off my ball today and kind of forgot to get my ESPN fantasy set up. So give me a quick second here to get over there to that. Which is usually I'm better about this, but we'll go to the here. Let's just go here to this, which is hold up. Where am I at? Why can't I find? Wow, there we go. Okay, we're gonna start here at this, which is present, share screen, and we'll start here. So here is the standings for the final of our standings here. As you can tell, I finished third in the league here with doesn't show me my record. Oh, there we go. 8-6 record. I finished third in the league. Third in points for. Actually second in points for, I think. Second in points for, only behind Bibbo, our friend Bibbo. And honestly, Anders over here finished second to last in the league here, finishing the season at 5-9. Anders, can you talk to me about what went wrong with this team?
I'd love to talk to you about the one specific thing that went wrong. Even going back to the summer, like stuff happens and things are random throughout the season, but like the one specific like kind of thing that this bad record has like called me to talk about is I back in like July was lecturing you guys on how exciting Jonathan Brooks was going to be. And I had this like 2-month plan of like, he's going to come back in week 8 and he's going to, Dave Canales loves his pass catching running backs and all that. And he's going to be super explosive and everything like that. And then we get to he finally shows up in week 13 when it's too late. And I was too stubborn to drop him. And I held out too much hope to drop him. And I sacrificed so much running back stability with the intention of bringing him in as a starter. Hey,
that 1.5 game flash, that 1 game flash was fantastic. I cost myself wins because of it, because I was sure, and he's going to be a playoff piece for me, whatever it is, and we had one game where we got, I think it was 5.8 points. And then in the next game, does an MCL on the same leg that he injured at Texas. So not only did I get 1.5 games on him, not only is he cooked for the rest of the year, he's probably also going to be starting next year on IR. Yeah.
And he's probably going to drop even further in the draft than he did this year.
Because Anders going to take him again, and we're going to go
again. I'm going to take him again with my last pick or something. I'm joking. I'm going to talk myself into it somehow. But no, I deserve to finish as low as I did because I made a big mistake. When the ship started to steer in a different direction with him, I was too stubborn to just cut my losses and move on. And I paid, and it required me to do a lot of really kind of not great things at the running back spot. And I deserve the consequences of that. It was a lot of Jerome Ford and a lot of Zach Moss and stuff like that. So I totally I deserve it. I made a mistake, and I deserve the consequences of that. So that's a fantasy lesson. Is if you be willing to not, because Jonathan Brooks was like one of my like smart guy picks. Do not be afraid to cut or trade away whatever your smart guy picks in order to put yourself in the best position. I got too stubborn, and I deserve this. I really do. I really do.
With that being said here, and first off, your wide receivers are great, though. Like, we can't really blame your wide receivers.
Right.
Although Marvin Harrison,
I would have won this week if Cooper Kupp just had like on the lower range of his lower part of his range of expectations, and Jonathan Taylor didn't drop that stupid ball at the 1 yard line. So,
but like Marvin Harrison has had a disappointing year, obviously, for a lot of people's standards. And Anders called that kind of coming in. I remember Anders talking about how he did not believe Marvin Harrison was gonna perform at the value people were getting him at. Anders was very kind of positive. Marvin Harrison would be like he were drafting him like late first round, early second, and Anders even said that was. He did not believe Marvin Harrison was
I always figured that he had the potential to be. I always thought that like top 5 fantasy receiver was like in his range of outcomes. But the thing that I was saying was like, if he reaches 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns in his rookie year, that's going to be an awesome year for a rookie receiver in real life, and he'll still underperform his fantasy value. No, I took the chance on him, and it didn't really pay off, unfortunately. Neighbors did in the end.
Yeah, Neighbors did, but you had Neighbors a little later than
right. Neighbors was my 3rd round pick. That, in terms of return on investment, I'd say Neighbors and Jameson Williams were my 2 best picks.
Yes. Now that we've done that, though, Anders, I would like
your team, because I'm not even kidding when I say this. Like, and a lot of these guys are guys that Zach drafted. This is like
I drafted every one of these guys, basically.
Yeah, this is what I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not just like saying this because it's our show, like whatever. This is one of the best. This has to be one of the best fantasy drafts I've seen, like, because people,
No, I was telling you, like, this is my best fantasy team I've ever put together in my entire fantasy career. Like, I've been doing fantasy since I was like 8 years old, and this is the best fantasy team I've ever put together, and it's not even close. So I'm going to show it. This is my team, and it is just absolutely nuts what I've done on my starting roster here. Like, I expected so I'll go to my last matchup here because I absolutely, so I did make the playoffs, as you guys know. And this is my matchup. I scored 200 points this week. To put that into perspective, the next highest scoring person had 171. To put that into perspective, I outscored the next highest person by 40 points. Josh Allen we knew he was going to be good, but what he's been doing offensively is insane. Jahmyr Gibbs, with now David Montgomery being out, I'm excited to have him kind of as a full workhorse back here. James Conner has been a revelation in terms of just he stayed healthy for a full year. If you look at my bench here, I drafted Trey Benson as his backup just to be safe.
Yeah.
I could have probably dropped Trey Benson weeks ago, but I decided to keep him anyway. But James Conner healthy the entire season and is putting up 30 points, right? I got Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas. Tell me if I'm wrong, Anders. Brian Thomas is the number 1 rookie wide receiver this year. So this season,
I still think it's Neighbors, but No, I mean he's second to me in
Okay.
terms of in real life I think it's Neighbors. In terms of fantasy return on investment, he's won by far.
Yeah. Okay. And the thing is, and this is a crazy story. I don't know if I ever told Anders. I tried to trade Brian Thomas.
Yes.
The second I drafted him. Like the second I drafted Brian Thomas, I tried to trade immediately 1-for-1 for Keon Coleman. The second I drafted him because I had Christian Kirk, and I'm like, I don't want two Jaguars wide receivers on my team, and I love Keon Coleman, and I have Josh Allen, so I'm like, this is going to be great. I am very glad I did not make that move. I am very glad I did not make that move at all. Thielen, I got a more weaker week here, but Thielen's a fantastic wide receiver 3. I'll take Thielen at wide receiver 3 any day of the week. He's basically guaranteed 10 points, 10 plus. And then I do something I've never done before in my life, which is I've gone too deep in tight end this entire year. Like in terms of I've put McBride, I drafted McBride kind of early in the draft, and I drafted Bowers pretty close behind him. And I've started both of them for basically like the last 5-6 weeks. I've started both of them, which is something I never do. I never am a guy that's going to start 2 tight ends, but McBride and Bowers have been so insane offensively that it's impossible to not start them both. And so, no, this is the best team I've ever wrote together. And obviously, defense kicker-wise, Cameron Digger's actually been really good this year at the kicker position. And the Vikings defense has been one of the best defenses in football in terms of fantasy production because of all their turnovers. So, I mean, it's just my team has turned into a really incredible team. And I am now in a really prime position to win this thing. And I should technically win this thing with my team that I have right now. I'm playing the second best team in the league in terms of, or the best team in the league in terms of points this week. If we go to my matchup, let's go back to my current matchup. And I'm still projected to win by 24 points. I'm projected 160, which is kind of nuts, actually. Yeah. That's kind of a nuts projection. But my team's just so good. That's just been incredible this year. So I'm really hoping that I can continue this. I told Anders as a joke. If you look at my team, my meme pick this year is Mason Tipton, and I've not dropped him once. And so if I could get Mason Tipton in the fantasy football championship, it'd be the greatest moment of my life.
That'd be great.
So shout out to Mason Tipton for being the greatest there. But that is all we have there. I'm not gonna show the other league because, to be honest, I will admit, like, I missed the playoffs in the league, and my team is kind of falling apart in that league. Mm-hmm. My depth just wasn't there, unfortunately, in that league. So I'm not going to show it. We're going to kind of move on here to our NFL section. And what we're doing is a section called the How We Doing, because our usual thing is fantasy football, how you doing? That's our catchphrase, right? Fantasy football, how you doing? So we're going to do a How We Doing to some NFL topics here.
Yep.
Starting with kind of the biggest news of the week. Kirk Cousins, how we doing? If y'all do not know, Kirk Cousins, who was paid $90 million guaranteed, 4-year, $160 million contract at the start of the year. The Vikings decided not to re-sign him to that price and basically let the Falcons take him. The Falcons then drafted a QB at pick, was it 8 or 9? I'm not right. 8 or 9. Yeah. When Michael Penix Jr., who was the star out of Washington last year, which surprised a lot of people considering they just paid Kirk Cousins this obscene amount of money. Yeah. And Kirk started the year really good, actually. He had a 500-yard game early on in the year, and we're all like, maybe this is the Kirk Cousins they want. And then since then, it's gone very much downhill. He's had like 1 touchdown and like 12 picks in the past, like, I want to say 5-6 weeks.
Yep.
And he's been really bad. And so this week they made the decision to bench Kirk Cousins, and play Michael Penix Jr., their rookie. And we talked about this a little bit on the Bleav in Twins podcast. Go check it out. on YouTube. Go check it out on the Bleav in Twins, the BleavNetwork.com website, or go check it out on Apple Music and Spotify. We talked about this a little bit on the show in terms of what we thought they should do, because we did the show before they made the move to bench Kirk Cousins. And so now that has officially happened, Anders, your thoughts on the move? Yeah. And just what do the Falcons do from here? I mean, obviously it's Michael Penix's team, but
so every part of this has been handled the wrong way. So because there was no, and I've said this before, and other people in like media have echoed this, like, if your plan was to draft Penix the whole time, then you don't give Cousins a no trade clause, and you don't give not only, and we can talk about like the amount of guaranteed money and like what we think of that and how much he's actually worth, but you don't give him the no trade clause. And also the opt-out structure is not indicative of any intention to move off of him if they felt they needed to. Right. So to me, this was poorly orchestrated from the start, even if the Falcons had a great record and Kirk was playing great. But the fact now, they're paying him like $13 million a win, basically. Like they're paying him $90 million for 7 wins, which is terrible, and it's so. And now it sucks because if Penix does well in these last 3 games, if he does really well in these last 3 games, then, you have a moment of hope, but then it's like, okay, so we have to cut Kirk because certain amounts of the guaranteed money kick in the longer he stays on the team. So if you cut Kirk the second the season ends, you have to sit there and think about, okay, like, so not only are we going to
pay him $40 million next year,
right? So not only are a lot of these guys like Bijan and Drake London and Kyle Pitts and whatever, and there's some young offensive linemen that they still haven't paid yet, going to become more expensive. But then also, no matter how you structure it and no matter how you set it up or manipulate it, like, even if Penix is great, it's like, oh man, like the Bucs are going to win the division again. Like we got to go compete for this thing next year. And just think about the amount of money that they could have spent that $90 million in dead cap on, right?
No, that's the thing, is they're going to be unable to make any moves to help Penix
the
for
whole
a while.
Drafting a rookie is that they're cheap and you can fill out the roster. But which is why the Cousins thing was weird from the start. Like the contract was weird from the start because of the way it's set up. The no trade clause is indicative of that, but then also the guaranteed money structure and the opt outs, like it doesn't make any sense. So like if Penix plays and he's bad, it's like, shoot, okay, then it's a bad pick anyway. And you just kind of have to sit there and deal with it. So I think it's awful. And I think that I forget how you say the name of the Falcons GM. He's a French name, but I forget how you say it. But like
Harry Houston Fonten, it's like
Fontenot, yeah. He should be fired. If Penix is bad, like really bad, like I forget it's a 3-game stretch. Like if he like consistently struggles like throughout like the games, I think he should be fired.
Oh, absolutely.
This is the whole way this was set up is fireable to me. So
100%. No, it's bad, and it's like, it's not like it's not like I don't even know how to you in quick question. Like this is one of the worst situations in terms of like QB this shit managements I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like if you knew there was an issue with Cousins, you don't give him that much guaranteed money, and you let him sign somewhere else because he would have signed probably back in Minnesota,
right,
for a cheaper deal if he wasn't going to get that much guaranteed money. What happened here was a disaster, and honestly, I'm okay with it because it actually worked out really well for us.
Yeah.
Obviously. Listen, Kirk Cousins is a great guy, but he was bad, and there's no question about that. The issue is if you cut him, you're still having to pay him a lot of money. He's going to sign somewhere else and play probably immediately. Some team will sign him as a starter pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
He'll be, besides Sam Darnold, probably the best QB in this free agent class if you cut him.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's just a situation that it's like, if Kirk Cousins then turns out to go kind of revive his career somewhere, kind of figures out, maybe it was just an injury issue this year and he couldn't really, he was never really healthy or fully healthy yet from that from that Achilles. And so, like, he comes back next year and he's back after a full year of after a full offseason practice and he's back. Yep. Like, and now he plays well for another team. Like, the Falcons are going to look really bad here. Especially if Michael Penix struggles, which I don't think he will. I'm a big Michael Penix fan. I was a fan of Michael Penix if he sat for a full year or sat for 2 years.
Right, yeah.
I am not a fan of him starting this early. In fact, I would have kept Kirk Cousins going a little bit longer. Yeah. But anyway, that's how it is. Moving on to a more positive topic here. Yeah. NFC North. How are we doing? Anders, this division is nuts. It's just like, what is happening in football? That we have three teams in a division that will probably finish with 13 plus wins.
Yeah.
I mean, we have 3 teams in a division that will finish with 13 plus wins.
Right, because I need to look at the schedules to see if they play each. Because I do think
the Packers play the Vikings next. The Packers play the Vikings next week,
and
the Vikings play the Lions next week. And then that's it.
That's it.
Okay. That's it between us.
No, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, like, the thing is, it's like, imagine the Lions going like 15 or 14-3 and not winning the division.
I know.
Like, that's a possibility at this point.
Like, we're gonna get like a 12-5 seed potentially.
Yeah, we're gonna actually get a 12-5 seed, and they're the third team in their division. Like, and
we're probably a 12-5 like 6 seed basically. So, like,
no, it's nuts.
It's unbelievable.
It's like 12. Yeah, it's like here's the thing: the Lions could finish 14-3 and not win the division because if the Vikings win out, they actually showed this. If the Vikings win out, the Vikings will get the number 1 seed. In the
NFC. The Vikings control their destiny. If they win out, they get it. If they win out,
imagine the best season in Lions history, not finishing with a division title. Like that's that's the brutal thing if you're a Lions fan, right? Because it's like we're having this insane year where we're just winning every game basically, and we might not win our division. And that's how it is. And the Packers have to be feeling the same way, right? I mean, the Packers aren't the best fantasy in history, obviously, but like the Packers are going to put up 12, 13 wins, and they're not even really close to finishing second in their division. Like they're like a pretty solid number 3 in the NFC North right now based on the record.
Yeah.
So it's nuts what's happening in the NFC North right now. And so Anders, your thoughts on this NFC North and just like what is happening there?
Right. For really like Halloween onward was very adamant that the Lions were the best team in college, not in college football, excuse me, that the Lions were the best team in football. I think now it's an opinion that I am still really tempted to hold, just because I love the offensive line and I love the play calling so much. But I'm worried now that the defensive injuries have piled up essentially to a point of no return, and where now it's weird, right? Because like we're gonna sit here and say, well, the Lions are probably gonna have to score, have to score 35 at least to win playoff games, and which is weird to like kind of point at, because we've seen them score 50, and 45 plus multiple times this year. So it's feasible. It's just a path. It just the path is a little harder now than it was. I still think they're the best team in that division personally, but I could, quite frankly, like I could sit here and say with some strong confidence that like the three best teams in the NFC are all there. Like I don't know, like I mean, a lot of people love the Eagles. A lot of people would put the Eagles at 1. I just the coaching with them is still iffy to me. Like Campbell's coaching can be chaotic, but like it's consistent, and it's also like it's from a personality standpoint, it really works. Sirianni at times can be a sort of like a coaching roulette wheel, and also just like with a lot of the personality stuff, there's some conflicts in that I don't love. But so I would say in terms of just like who I trust to go furthest, it's the 3 NFC North teams that I would.
Yeah,
pick.
I would agree. I also want to just point out here that the Bears, man, like, they're in shambles right now.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this a while, but Caleb Williams has not looked good in his starts. Like, he's looked a lot worse than we expected him to look, or some people expected him to look. And it's just been bad. But the main argument against these 3 teams, and it's just insane what's happening there. I see these things that are like, I see these memes here. I'll quickly just share one of the memes I like to see all the time, because it's just, I see it every time. But it's actually, I don't know if we should use bad language in this thing. We should use bad language. I'm going to use this one instead. But just be safe here. We're going to use this one. This is the tweet I always see. I always see this meme every single time. It's just like, it's like to be fair, they're not wrong, right? Like, to be fair, like, they're not wrong. Like, the Vikings, like, I saw news articles before the season where there were media people that were saying the Vikings were competing for the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Like, I saw a bunch of like news sites that said Vikings are in the running for the number 1 overall pick. Vikings are easily the 4th best team in the division. 4-13. I think our over-under was 4.5. I want to Bleav in terms of picking. I want to say our over-under is like 4.5 or 5.5. Like, a lot of people, including myself, I'll say this, I didn't expect us to do this. I expected us to probably go like 8-9 or 9-8, but this was not what I expected. What we did this year just sets us up so well for the future in terms of a lot of the guys we are bringing back next year are the same guys we have. We're bringing back a lot of guys next year.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, that's the NFC North. It's very nuts. This last 3 weeks of the season is going to be really fun in that division. And moving on to one last we'll do this quick here, but one last thing. Dave Canales, how we doing? And this is not just Dave Canales, this is also Dave Canales and the Panthers GM, which I do not know the name of.
Dan
Morgan.
Yeah.
This is a question about them, because right now, Bryce Young is looking very good. These last 4 or 5 weeks, Bryce Young is looking really good. However, they're going to have a top 5 pick.
Yep.
Anders and me have kind of differed on this Bleav here in terms of what they should do in the draft. My belief is very simple. The Panthers should not go with a QB. I don't think this QB class is that strong. I think Shador and Cam Ward will be gone by the first 2 picks. I think after that, I'm not really impressed with any QB in this class. I think the Panthers should hold off on drafting a QB here and wait for next year to draft somebody and see if the Bryce Young flashing that we're seeing now is legit or if it's just the flash. Anders is on a different belief.
Yep.
Anders believes that the Panthers should draft a QB because Dave Canales and Dan Morgan are fighting for their jobs.
Right.
And if Bryce Young doesn't play well next year, they're going to be gone.
And Dave Canales, I think, is an excellent offensive mind and a brilliant play caller. And in my mind, he deserves, before getting fired, or the possibility of him getting fired, I think deserves a chance to have his pick at QB. That's what I think. Because, we're assuming the top 2 picks are going to be Raiders, Giants in one of those orders. I'm not sure which yet, but those are not set in stone. Like, to me, like, I agree it's a weaker class. If they're better than Bryce Young, and, like, there are, like, Bryce Young stats out there that are, like, indicative of, like, bottom 10 just all-time stuff. Like, if it's better than that, then it's fine. And, like, like you've talked about, like, drafting like a receiver, like, I think there's a lot the top of this receiver class, I think, is viewed as a little weaker with, like, because you have Ted McMillan and Luther Burden, who are really good. But then after that, like, the next 2 guys are like Emeka Egbuka and, like, Isaiah Bond, who are probably going to go in the last, like, 7 picks of the first round. They kind of just need a little bit of everything. But, like, I would, I think we checked on the other pod. Like, they have 5 picks in the top 120, which is a really good spot capital wise. And I think you can get other stuff there. So, like, I would probably, I think, like, Milroe would be available. Let's say they had, like, the 5th pick. Jalen Milroe, I think, would be there. Because, yeah, I think he would. What I think the Panthers are hoping for is that both the Jags and the Patriots end up picking before them, so that way, one of these other teams that might need a quarterback doesn't sneak in, and take one like the Jets or the Saints or something like that, right? So I would draft Milroe and then just spend other picks, like, you have a 2nd and a 3rd. You have your 2nd and your 3rd this year because they're starting to get a lot of that capital back. You get a receiver and you get a defensive end. Like, that's what I would kind of start with. So yeah, that's what I would do. Just because I want to see Dave Canales with a quarterback of his choice.
Absolutely, and I understand that. I think Bryce Young's flashes might save his life. I think in the last, like, 5 games, you can't say that in the last 5 games Bryce Young hasn't looked like a different QB. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can say that. I think he has. But with that being said, let's move on to the most important part of our show. The moment you've been waiting for here. Mm-hmm. Anders and I, college football playoff predictions. Mm-hmm. I have made graphics for this, so I'm really excited to share with you all. We are going to present this now.
Yep. Yeah, Zac did a good number on this.
Okay, here we go. You can see that beautiful Anders over there in the corner. So here is the bracket here, right? We got Ohio State, Tennessee, Texas, Clemson, Penn State, SMU, Notre Dame, Indiana, with the 4 byes being Oregon, Arizona State, Boise State, and Georgia.
Yep.
So we're going to start here with Ohio State, Tennessee. Anders, this is your graphic. Would you like to tell me who you picked and why?
Yes, so for this, I'm going Tennessee.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Tennessee. I love Tennessee here just in real life. I love them. I know this is not a betting show. I love them especially plus 7.5. I think that's free basically. The big kind of one there for me on why I'm picking Tennessee is, I look for like positional mismatches. And I think that in the trenches, I think Tennessee's defensive line is with James Pierce and Omar Norman-Lott is so much better than Ohio State's offensive line, which is on the weaker side this year than it has been in years prior. And so I think that Tennessee is going to win that trenches battle on defense, and it's going to minimize Will Howard's ability to make use of his elite receivers. That's kind of the big kind of point of emphasis there on what I think Tennessee is going to win.
Okay. And then Anders, for you, we're moving on here. Number 5, Texas. Number 12, Clemson.
Yep. This is an easy one. It's Texas for me. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is not particularly close. I think they have the advantage at whether it's Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning. They have the advantage at quarterback, offensive line, quarterback, offensive line, receivers, and secondary and defensive line. Really, the only things that Clemson really has the advantage in my opinion, are running back and linebackers. That's really it. Everything else Texas has. So I think it's going to be like, we haven't seen Texas put up like a super dominant offensive performance in a bit. I am going to call this, let's say, Texas 38, Clemson 17.
Okay, I like that. So now we've got an underdog and a favorite. Anders, Penn State. A lot of people are saying Penn State has the easiest path to the semis. What is your prediction for this game?
Here's the crazy one. Show him, Zach. Show him. There we go. This is about, to me, I think the offense for SMU has been, in my opinion, obviously like scheduling and whatever, like you can adjust to that. That's fine. To me, the offense for SMU has been more consistent and more dominant. And my kind of hot take, I think this is a big coaching mismatch with Rhett Lashley, who I think is the single most underrated coach in college football. I know. Like, I know Kenny Dillingham obviously won deserved coach of the year. I think Lashley should have been discussed more openly. I think it's a huge mismatch with Lashley over James Franklin. So I'm going to take SMU in because there's going to be one of these 4 games is going to be a big upset, whether it's not by the margin of the seed or in just the final score. This is that for me.
Okay. Moving on here, we got Notre Dame versus Indiana, the battle of the of the Hoosier State. Anders, what is your pick here?
I am going to go with Indiana.
We're going with another upset here.
Yeah, not as big of an upset. I think this would be the smallest upset of the 4 if they were to all happen. With obviously, I think the biggest would be Clemson over Texas. But I mean, again, like I think I like the coaching more for Indiana. I think they've played a tougher schedule, even by Big. I know was a little bit on the weaker side by Big Ten standards, but I do, and I also just think that Indiana, I think maybe not on defense, not as much. I think defensively has them, like Notre Dame has them beat on defense, particularly on the interior of the defensive line and in the back four. But I think offensively, Indiana can go pound for pound. So okay. I'm gonna take them there, mixing in the coaching mismatch as well.
Okay. So then Anders. Yep. Moving on to the second round here. We're going to keep with your bracket because that's how it's set up. We're going to keep with your bracket. We're going to move on to the second round here. Oregon versus Tennessee.
So I'm gonna take Oregon on that side, just because they're the better team, and are kind of better at. I think they're really better at everything except. I think they're better at everything except defensive line. Defensive line is the only edge that I would give Tennessee. Everything else, Oregon has pretty much locked up.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I can't really complain with it. Moving on here, Anders, we got a kind of a spicy one here. We got Texas versus Arizona State, but a hot Arizona State team.
It's a hot team that I'm leaning into.
So are we doing it? Doing it?
We're doing it. We're doing it.
The Sun Devils are beating Longhorns, huh?
I've earned more trust over the course of the year with Dillingham as a play caller and as a game organizer. Texas had in the past couple games has had some really weird play calling in critical moments, especially against Georgia. And I just love the kind of versatility. I think that Arizona State can run the ball so much more effectively and can keep Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning and keep them in that offensive line off the field. I think they have the ability to kind of suck that secondary in and really minimize them. Because they have Jahdae Barron, Andrew Makuba, like all those guys, like they can minimize them, I think, a little bit with that run game. So, and also, I think Kenny Dillingham is a more creative play caller and is also just down the stretch been a more trustworthy one. Sark has done some weird things in the past week. So, I
think we can't not talk about Cam Scatterbo either on this one as well. Just his dominance has been in full display. We go from one top 5 Heisman finalist in Cam Scatterbo to another top 5 Heisman finalist in Ashton Jeanty, making his playoff debut against SMU. Anders, where are we going on this one?
We're going with Boise State.
Okay, we're sending the Broncos one round in. Okay.
Yep. I think. Yeah, like they're just better. I mean. Jeanty's kind of the thing you can really say about this. I just think that
this seems kind of crazy to me. Would you, if Penn State wins, would you take Penn State or Boise State?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. That's a good question.
Because to me, I don't know how much I can trust. Boise State hasn't looked great in the past 2 games. And it just is like
no, but they do. I still hold faith with them and their explosiveness. I'm gonna pick them here.
Okay, fair. Now we go over to Georgia, Indiana. Do we got another upset, Anders?
I don't. Do I? I wait. Click on it. What did I send you?
No, we do not. I was hoping you just say everything. You say no, we do not.
Yeah. So Georgia is going to win this game by less than a touchdown, I think. And the offense has really struggled. And I just think the level of talent on Georgia's roster is going to be too overwhelming for Indiana on both sides of the ball. But I think the offensive mechanics of Georgia have been out of whack really for the past month. And I honestly, quite frankly, actually, might be close to like a month and a half. Really, since like Halloween, they've been just totally out of whack offensively. And Beck's been throwing picks. Beck's gonna get picked off a couple times, I think, in this game. And Georgia's gonna win just because the talent down the stretch is gonna be more impactful. But it's not gonna look good at all, I don't think.
Just 1 second. Oh shoot. Okay, never mind. My bad. Okay, sorry. Moving on. Sorry, I just saw a picture. Megan did graduate from her grad school today.
Yes. Shout out to Megan.
Shout out to Megan. Sorry, I saw that photo. I felt like I had to protect St. Andrews photo on there. Anders, moving on here. Yep. Can Kenny Dillingham keep their Cinderella season alive here, Anders?
No, he can't.
Best team in the country?
No, he can't.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Kenny Dillingham going back to Oregon at his former stop.
Who beat him 56-7 last year. It was like 56-7 last season.
Not good. I don't think it'll be that ugly, but I just think, again, like talent wise, it'll be a huge mismatch. And I would, if I had to pick like a final score, like I would call it maybe like 42-28.
Okay.
Oregon. It's going to be a big scoring game. Like the over, I don't know what the line would be, but that would be my favorite.
Okay. And now we go to a game versus the SEC champ versus the Mountain West champ. Ashton Genty versus Georgia. Anders, who are we taking?
I don't know who you're taking. I'm actually not. I don't even see your graph. I'm actually sure you're taking. I'm taking Boise State. Because
we are sending the Boise State Broncos to the 2025 National Championship
because Georgia offensively is going to have some really big duds, and the run game for Boise State is going to keep them off the field. So it's going to be this big sort of grudge where Georgia doesn't get any points on a drive. Or they don't get points on a drive, or they get just field goals or whatever. And then the run game for Boise State just keeps them off the field for so long. This is a time of possession nightmare for Georgia. That's how I think this is going to go. And I don't know what the final score would be, but I think this is going to be a really big time of possession mismatch. And I think this of all of the top four of all the big one programs here, Oregon, Texas, and Georgia. This is the Georgia to me is the school that mismatch wise works best for Boise. So I'm going to take them here.
Okay. And then finally, 2025 national champion, Anders.
Yep.
It is?
Show them. Oregon. It's gonna work out the exact same as last time. It's gonna work out the exact same as last time when they played earlier in the year. Yeah, and I just think Georgia's better. Not Georgia, excuse me. Oregon. Oregon's better. Kind of completely, especially on defense. On defense, I think it's a huge mismatch.
Okay.
I think at some point, they're gonna force Boise State to throw the ball, and the secondary for Georgia, I think, is the strength of their defense. So I'm going to take Georgia to win the whole Oregon to win the whole thing.
Okay, I like it. Moving on to mine, I will let you know mine is a lot more chalk than what Anders did. I don't know why. I don't know where I lost my graphic here, but as you can see, I guess I don't know what happened to the middle piece here. But Tennessee, I do have beating Ohio State here in the first round. Like Anders said, I just think Tennessee's the better team. I think Tennessee is the better coach team. I think the Buckeyes are so checked out of this season already. Especially after the loss to Michigan. I just feel like the Ohio State Buckeyes are just checked out of the season, to be honest. And also, I think the coaching mismatch is huge here. I think Heupel is such a better coach than Ryan Day. I think Ryan Day is, in my opinion, the worst coach.
I didn't even talk about the coaching, but no, you're right. There's that.
Ryan Day is 100% the worst coach in this playoff. The
entire
in the bracket. Yeah, Ryan Day is the worst head coach. In the entire bracket.
That's a big wow. Okay.
Ryan Day, I think I know a lot of Ohio State fans that want to lose this game so that Ryan Day gets fired.
I would personally pick James Franklin for that, but I
don't like James Franklin either. He's number 2 for me in terms of worst, but I still think Day is worse.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, so that's my move there. I'm taking Tennessee. I think Tennessee's just better. Second, I'm also going Texas here pretty easily. I think it's the biggest blowout in the entire playoffs, in my opinion. In terms of this game, I don't see Clemson being a good team. I don't see Clemson even competing with Texas. I think Quinn Ewers has a bounce back game after that SEC championship performance. Whether it's Ewers or Arch Manning, I see one of them kind of having a bounce back game and kind of getting into Clemson basically pretty easily. And so I just think, I think Texas is just better by a long shot than Clemson. I don't think it's really that close. So I'm going to Texas. Then when it comes down to Penn State SMU, I am not in the same boat as Anders here. I just can't pick the ACC team here. Especially the ACC team that lost in their conference championship. I just don't trust the ACC at all. So I am going Penn State. I don't trust the ACC at all. I trust the Big Ten a lot. I trust that Penn State's kind of going to win this game on their run. I think Nick Singleton is one of the more underrated backs in the country. And I think Drew Aller kind of has a breakout performance here in this playoff game, especially since he announced he's coming back for one more year. I think Drew Aller kind of has a bounce back game here, and has a breakout game here against SMU. I'm gonna take Penn State and the Lions. Ought to go with that. And then also, as much as I want to go with the Indiana Hoosiers here, I think they're the biggest frauds in this entire thing. In my opinion, I probably wouldn't even pick them to make the playoff in general. Like, really? I'm that guy. What? I would have said their schedule was so weak and their loss to Ohio State was so bad that I probably would have left them out and given Alabama a spot over them. And I know that sounds really bad, but I probably would have done it. I don't think Indiana's good. I think they're frauds. I like Signetti a lot. I think he's building something there. But this year, I don't think they're a good enough team to even compete with Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame's that great either. But I think they're better than Indiana. And the last few weeks have really shown me that. Especially their dominant win against USC. So I'm going to go with Notre Dame here over Indiana. And then we go back to Tennessee, Oregon. I am going to go with Oregon as well. I as much as I love Tennessee so much. I think Oregon's just the team to be here in this tournament. I think Dan Lanning is probably the best coach in this tournament, in my opinion.
Yep.
And I just think Oregon's just kind of gonna continue their run here. I think Dylan Gabriel has the case to be the best QB in this bracket. I think Dylan Gabriel is probably the best QB in this bracket. And so I think Oregon just has everything that they need to make the run, and I think they beat Tennessee here. Moving on, I'm going to also agree with Anders here. I'm going with Arizona State over Texas. This might be a little homer pick, honestly, but they're so hot right now. Cam Scatterbo is the number 2 RB in the country, and I think just the way that defense on Arizona State has looked, I think that the Arizona State defense is not talked about enough for how good they've been defensively. I think Arizona State's defense has been so good recently that I think they kind of shut down Texas like Georgia did. And I think their offense is going to have to kind of get back Texas defense, man. I think their offense is incredible. I think Sam Levitt, like I said, I see a lot of people say Sam Levitt's a Heisman contender next year. I agree with it. I think Sam Levitt's a great QB.
100%.
And so I think Sam Levitt has a chance to be a really big franchise piece for the Devils here. And so I think I'm going to go with Arizona State to continue their hot streak and make it. And here is again, Anders loves the Broncos, dude. Anders loves them. Their last 7 weeks scare me a lot, dude. Since like that week 5, week 6 dominant win where Ashton GNT looked like a beast, they've kind of fallen back to earth a little bit. And they've won a lot of games. Yes, they've won every game, but they've fallen back to earth in their performances. They kind of played with the opponents they're playing with, not better than. And so I can't pick Boise State here. I physically can't. And honestly, Penn State, I think the Big Ten, man, I have to trust the Big Ten a little bit here. I'm going Penn State to beat Boise State here. I love Ashton GMT, don't get me wrong. I want Boise State to win this game. I think James Franklin is a fraud, and I want James Franklin to show that he's a fraud. So I want him to lose this game. But I think Penn State wins. And then I'm going chalk again here. I'm going Georgia to beat Notre Dame. That's not even a question really here. I think whoever wins Notre Dame, Indiana gets destroyed by Georgia. I don't think Georgia really hangs with either of them. I think Georgia's a better team. I think Kirby Smart's the better coach of either of these coaches by a good amount. And I think Beck is going to eventually have one Beck-like game. He hasn't had that in a while. And I feel like he's eventually going to have one game where he's like, yeah, I'm Carson Beck again. And I think this is the game he does it in.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, it's sad for me to call this one, but I am going to call the end of the Arizona State Sun Devils here as well. I think Oregon's too talented. I think Dan Lanning is just insane. I think that team is nuts. Dylan Gabriel, again, I like Arizona State's defense. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as Anders says, personally. But I think it's going to still be maybe a 35-24 is kind of where I'm at with this one. I don't think it's as high as anyone says, but I think Arizona State keeps it close for a little bit, and I think Oregon takes kind of after that. And then Penn State, Georgia, I'm sticking chalk here. I'm going Georgia again over Penn State. I think this is where the bad James Franklin coaching matchups, I don't think he's really faced a substantial opponent until he faces Georgia here. I think this is where James Franklin kind of falls off the wheels. I think this is where Penn State falls off the wheels. And I think Georgia makes a championship here. And then to finish it off, it's a pretty easy pick for me here. Like Anders, I don't trust Georgia that much, but I trust Georgia more than I trust the 3 teams they're facing. I trust Oregon and Dan Lanning more with my life. And so I'm going to go Dan Lanning again in Oregon. I think they go 18-0 and win the college football playoff. And I'm going to be super excited if it happens. I'm a big Oregon fan. I like Dan Lanning a lot. And so I'm choosing Oregon here. I don't trust Georgia to beat them. I think Oregon once Oregon makes past Arizona State, I think they're going to be on a run. And I think it's just they're the team of destiny this year. If Oregon makes it past Tennessee, I think they win. That's my prediction. I think if Oregon makes it past Tennessee, they win. Because I think there might be a little bit of playoff jitters against Tennessee. But if Oregon makes it past that playoff jitters against Tennessee, they win. And so that's my prediction. So I think really the only thing that could beat Oregon is Tennessee, and that's only if Oregon has some jitters of sitting 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But that's that. That is our playoff bracket. I'll stop sharing that and head back to
regular screening
here. So there we go. That is our college football playoff predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And then that is really it. I know Andrew's kind of messing off here. That is really all we have. Although, Anders, is there any sort of news that you saw or you want to bring up that we haven't talked about? We do have 10 minutes here if you wanted to quickly bring up something that you saw.
So no, I think we've covered it. Good job on you with the graphics.
That took a little bit of time, but we got it figured out. But yeah, shout out to that. Also shout out to college basketball season. We'll eventually start talking about college basketball here in a bit. Once like the college football playoff season, I think it's over, we'll start talking about college basketball a bit. But with shout out to college basketball season kind of being in full swing, that's been fun to watch. I don't know if you've been able to watch any much of the games, Anders, in college basketball. Have you been able to watch any of the games recently? And then shout out to everything else though. Welcome in, and thanks again. So that is all we have. I'll do a quick sign out here. Thank you for tuning into season 2, episode 9 / Christmas episode of Nerds Ruin Sports. We really appreciate you watching. We would love to hear your thoughts down below. Your college football playoff predictions, if you wouldn't mind. We would love to hear them in the comments below. If you want to trash me or Anders for any of our takes, we would love to hear those down below as well. And honestly, would love to also like, subscribe. Anything helps. We're really excited to have this going. It took us a lot of time. We're really excited to keep doing this. And this has been Nerds Ruin Sports Season 2, Episode 9. Also, go check out the Bleav in Twins podcast on the Bleav Network, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. You can look up Bleav in Twins there, or you can search up on YouTube. We have that down there. / it's in the link below to our YouTube as well. In the link below there. So please go check us out. We'd love to hear your comments, love to hear your things. And with love, happy holidays to all of you. Merry Christmas. And thanks again for showing up for me today.
Zac, Merry
Christmas.
And
it's been a pleasure. Merry Christmas to all of you and good night.
Holidays.